do if I knew that I could not fail? If I believe...
Hello, and welcome to Wake Up with Wendy, Discover the Magic of You. My name is Wendy Kaplan, host and guide into helping you discover your next bold move, personally or professionally. Each month, we talk about how many people reach a time in their lives when they start to ask themselves the question, is this all there is? Is this it? This time of inner restlessness happens to many people somewhere between the ages of 40 and 60. And many people go through this time of re-examination multiple times in their lives. During this time, people often reevaluate. They reevaluate everything in their personal and professional lives. Some people hate their jobs and think about changing jobs, and often their entire careers. Some people wonder if they married the right person, and some even get divorced. Are you someone who is looking for something more? Are you wishing that you could do something more with your life that would make a bigger difference in the world and leave the kind of legacy that you are proud of? Many of us are realizing there must be something more. I hope that by watching our show today, it will inspire you to help you figure out what's next, to give you insights into your gifts and talents, and to inspire you into action. With us today is my guest, Barry Levy. Barry is a writer and a performer and a consultant, and he's performer of a cabaret show called Damaged Care, which is a musical comedy about healthcare in America. Barry has a very interesting story, and as you listen to Barry and I talk, think about yourself and what changes his story inspires in you. Welcome, Barry.
Great to be here, Wendy.
Thanks for coming. So start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm a physician. I work partly as a consultant and partly as a adjunct professor at Tufts Medical School in Boston and as an epidemiologist. And I'm a father and husband and have two grown children. And I love my life, all its aspects.
And you're busy because you're doing a lot of things, right? You're
Yes.
consulting and you're performing,
Yes,
which is
yes.
really what you're here to talk about
Exactly,
today, right?
exactly, yes.
Yeah.
One of my gifts that I discovered when I was a teenager, both in high school and experiences at summer camp, was that I have a talent to write humorous poetry and humorous lyrics. And that's something that I've fostered over the years through college, through medical school, and most recently in developing a show with a former medical school classmate, a physician from New Jersey named Greg Lagana. And he and I, about 14 years ago, wrote a show called Damaged Care, the musical comedy about healthcare in America. And this has been sort of the flowering of my gift or talent in writing humorous lyrics and poetry for many years. And so Greg and I go around the country and perform our show called Damaged Care. We continue to update it with all the new developments in medicine and healthcare. And we find that this is a way not only for physicians and nurses and others in the healthcare industry, but for people in the general public. I mean, these issues touch everybody. And it's an opportunity not to only sing about and poke some fun about the issues, but to enable people to laugh at themselves. I mean, this is a stressful time in medicine and for patients as well, and seeking good quality medical care.
Yes.
And our show pokes fun at some of the issues and some of the challenges and some of the stresses that all of us feel.
That's great. So I want to be clear that people know that this is not your day job.
No, it isn't.
Right? You do it for fun.
Do it for fun as a hobby, but
Right.
it's an important hobby, and it's a
Yes.
way of being creative and expressing myself and developing a talent that I've nurtured and fostered for some time.
Yeah, and so tell us how this all started. I heard you say 14 years ago you started the show, but knowing you for as long as I have, I know that years and years and years ago is when you started to develop an interest in music and writing and lyrics, and so tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it probably goes all the way back to starting piano lessons when I was 5. And the other thing was that my mother was very much into writing humorous
that, yes.
poetry and song lyrics for bar mitzvahs and weddings and other family events and celebrations and so forth. And so I don't know exactly when, I can't pinpoint it, but sometime during my high school years, I was a writer and then editor of the school newspaper. And in the summer, I went to a camp called Camp Echo Lark in Pointel, Pennsylvania. And each year there would be 2 opportunities to write humorous lyrics and not so humorous lyrics. One was each of the groups in the camp would have a sing where they would sing an alma mater, a marching song, and a humorous song. And they would compete in terms of not only the cleverness of the lyrics, but how well they performed the song. And so I got engaged in that as a junior counselor and then as a counselor. And then one year I went back as a music counselor for part of the summer and actually wrote words for 2 groups that were competing in what was called Color War in the camp, the last week of the camp. So I actually wrote the lyrics for the competing teams and actually accompanied them on the piano. So it was during that period that I discovered and began to nurture this talent.
So for many people, I think what most people don't realize is sometimes when we're children, you know, you said the earliest memory you might have is somewhere around 5 years old, and then went on to talk about even high school and being at camp and so forth. And so for many of us, things that we adore and find joyful in our lives have started, or we have some inkling about it when we're children.
That's true.
Right? And
I think
true
that's
for
true.
you as well.
Yes, and even though I knew all along I wanted to be a physician, and I pursued that as a clinical doctor and as my work in public health, I always kept this as a hobby. During internship, during residency, during the years I spent at the Centers for Disease Control, each of those presented opportunities to write and perform in shows with fellow interns and residents and others working at the CDC. So I think one can always find opportunities to nurture and foster and participate in that talent along the way.
Yeah, I think so too. And for me, I was on I talked about this months ago, but when I was 5, I was on a local Boston television show. And so there was my small little inkling of, what has turned into this.
Yeah,
so
who knew?
Who knew? Who knew?
You probably knew.
Well, I don't know. Did you know? So let's
No.
talk about 14 years ago. So did something happen in your life or your work 14 years ago that had you get together?
Very interesting. My friend Greg, who I mentioned earlier, he and I, in some ways, we kept each other sane in medical school. And one of the ways we did that was by writing the annual class show, which satirized our professors and satirized a lot of the challenges that we were facing just being a medical student. In fact, it got to a point where the faculty who were not mentioned in the show felt left out. So everyone wanted to be mentioned and satirized, and it was good fun. And then we had our 25th medical school reunion. It was coming up in 1996. And about a year before that, actually Greg and I decided to take a course in writing for the musical theater in New York. I turned 50, he turned 50 at that time. I called him up, I said, I'm enrolling in this course in writing for the musical theater. We have 100 years of experience. I'm not sure experience of what, but we have 100 years of experience. Let's take the course together and maybe we'll start writing again. So we took the course and we decided that what we wanted to do was to write a show for our 25th medical school reunion the following year, which was in 1996. And we started writing the show, and we discovered early on that in contrast to the way we used to do the shows in medical school, where every night of the week we get all our classmates, most of whom lived in the same dormitory, downstairs in the gym to rehearse the show, we couldn't do this any longer. Our classmates were spread out across the country, if not the world. And there was no way to do the show unless it was just going to be the 2 of us to do it. And at that point, I didn't know how to sing. So,
how things
so it was a
have
challenge.
changed.
So we did our first performance for our 25th medical school reunion in May of 1996. And one thing led to another. A classmate asked us to perform at Long Island Jewish Medical Center. We performed at a public health convention that was coming up. And we've done almost 120 performances now in 27 states, not just for the medical community. We've done it for the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church. We've done it for companies in the computer industry and the pharmaceutical industry, For the general public, we've done about 25 shows off Broadway at cabaret clubs in New York.
That's unbelievable.
And, who would have known when I
would
was
have
starting
known?
piano lessons at the age of 5? So,
Who would have known?
yeah, right.
And you brought a clip with you.
I did. I brought a clip
of the
along
show.
that gives people a taste of the show. In the show, Greg and I play polar opposite characters. He's the physician who cares about patients, and he's kind of old-fashioned, and I'm the physician who's on the cutting edge of all the new technology, and I'm always looking for new ways, new investments in which to make money out of the evolving development of medicine as an industry. So I think the clip, which is from early on in the show, kind of illustrates that. And if maybe if Pete could roll the clip, we could
That'd be great.
have everyone watch it with us.
That'd be great.
These are times of crisis.
In Chinese, the word for crisis has 2 symbols,
One symbol stands for danger.
and the other symbol stands for opportunity.
In healthcare today, I see lots of danger.
And I see lots of opportunity.
Opportunity? What opportunity? Seems to me there's less and less opportunity for people to get decent medical care.
Greg, it seems to me that there's more and more opportunity for growth and for investment.
Growth and investment? In what?
Healthcare business.
Healthcare business?
Yes, Greg, get with the program. This isn't the 20th century anymore.
What are you talking about?
Have a seat. The weekend's coming. Relax. Here's the prospectus. Just follow along with me. Healthcare business ain't fair business. We gain when care's denied. Needless urgent care we have been scorning. Care without approval's a mistake. Take 2 aspirins, call me in the morning.
The less we do now, the more we make.
Now you got it nowadays. Surgery means pay. Surgery, it's quickness, makes us so rich. No more second opinions, you don't need to wait. For double hernias, we cut the rate. Rapid service in by 7, out by 8. Our OR time surely shrank.
But we're spending more time at the bank.
Absolutely, a grand business is scan business. All patients need MRIs. Computed scans improve disease detection. X-ray pictures now seem pretty crude. Scans improve our financial projection.
And give protection if we get sued.
Thank goodness it's choose business or lose business. The choice is very clear. Put your money down, you really can't be screwed.
Why go bankrupt? You can be shrewd.
You wouldn't want to practice on the street for food. To be a doctor today, healthcare business is clearly the way. Hey! Woo!
I love watching the clip of your show, Barry. I
Thank you
haven't
very
seen
much.
you perform for a while. It's so much fun. So what courage does this take for you to live this work that you do, this performing side of your life? Does this take some courage?
Well, I'm not sure if I use the word courage as much as a challenge, because, I mean, all of us face challenges, I think, in balancing the different interests and capabilities we have, and our work life, and our family life, and our hobbies, and our social interactions. So I'm not sure if it takes courage so much as just sort of determination to continue with all those things and to find the balance in my life as life goes on.
Yeah, and to fit it in,
And
right?
to fit it in, yes, yes. And it is a hobby. It's not
Right.
what I do as my main work, and but it's something I love to do, and it's something that nurtures me. And I think it's something where Greg and I both feel it nurtures the people who are watching our show, because it helps them to. One of the things that we both discover in the course of our show, our characters at least discover why we went into medicine as a profession. And I think it enables the people watching the show, whether they're physicians or nurses or people outside of the healthcare industry, helps them to discover why they went into what they went into.
Yes, to remember. Yeah.
Exactly.
And you're someone who loves his day job.
I love my day job, yes.
Yeah. And so a lot of people think when they're at the stage of re-examining and figuring out what's next, that they ought to, throw it all to the wind and go into whatever their hobby or their passion is and try to make it full time.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
And that's not wrong necessarily, but
No, for
everyone
some
has to
people,
find it for themselves.
Exactly, that might be right. And we've had a lot of guests who have done that.
Yes.
But you are someone who does both.
Right.
Right? You have your primary work is something that you've been doing for many years
Yes.
and that you're well known for and
Right.
well regarded for, and
Yes.
that you still get a lot of joy and satisfaction
That's right.
out of, and provides income for your family. And did you ever feel like maybe I'd just like to be a performer for my entire life?
Not really.
Yeah.
No. I think Greg probably more seriously thought about doing that when he was growing up. Thought about being actually a professional actor or maybe a classical pianist and so forth. But
Yeah.
I always knew I wanted to be a physician. I still love being a physician and the
Yes.
consulting and the teaching and the writing and editing that I do. But what Greg and I do together in writing and updating and performing damage care is another part of me that I enjoy very much expressing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so let's give a plug for your website. So,
Okay, sure.
This is the perfect time
it's
to do it.
it's damagedcare.com, and on our website is a little bit more about our show and some links to some of our videos, like the one that we just showed, that are up on the web. So
Great.
people go to damagedcare.com.
And they can retain, if they're interested in having a show come.
Sure, that's a way
to
they
the
can
community.
contact us through that if they want to book a show or explore
Great.
that. And as I said, we perform all over the country for all different types of organizations.
great.
And our show is not filled just with medical humor. It's really written for the general public and to get some insights into what's going on in medicine today.
That's great. And so what's next for you?
Doing more of the same,
Yeah.
Just with regard to our show, there's so much going on now with healthcare reform, with health information technology, with consumers getting more and more interested not only in medicine in general, but why do they take the medicines that they take, asking the right questions of their physicians or other caregivers.
Yeah.
So there's so much going on in medicine, and it gives us a lot of food for thought, a lot of good fodder for writing new scenes and songs for our show.
And you have quite a few things up on YouTube.
Yes, we do.
As I
That's right. And
recall.
people can find those by going to our website, damagedcare.com, and there's
Linked to.
five links to YouTube videos that we have up there.
That's great. And so let's go back for a minute and talk about the incremental steps.
Right, okay.
Because I see in your story, as in many people's stories, it's one little step at a time.
It is, yes.
Right? And
yeah.
you don't really know where it's headed necessarily.
yeah.
You're just following
That's
your
right.
passion.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Yeah. So we started out as a teenager, both in high school, writing poems, and I wrote our class day show when we were seniors, and then in summer camp, writing song lyrics, and then in college doing some of the same. And actually was the class poet of the class of 1966 at Tufts College. And then in medical school, and in internship and residency, again writing shows and just nurturing that and enjoying it. I
Yes.
mean, I wasn't
I think
thinking
that's
that
the
I was
key, right?
I was nurturing. I was just doing
You
what
would-
I love to do as a
Yeah.
hobby. And then staying in touch with Greg all those years, and then using the excuse of our 25th medical school reunion
Right.
to get together and sort of I think there's an Irish slogan, John Kennedy used to say it, of throwing your hat over the wall, making a
Yes.
commitment to
Yes.
something, and you don't quite, you're not sure how you're going to fulfill that commitment, but you're committed to doing it. So Greg and I threw our hats over the wall to commit ourselves to doing this show for our 25th medical school reunion. And then we just started writing. We ended up performing it ourselves, and before we knew it, one thing led to another, and here we're 14 years later still performing the show. We did 11 performances last year.
That's
all over
just
the country.
amazing. So one of the things that's important that we often talk about is support.
Yeah.
Right? In order to do the things that you love and
Right.
be able to have it work in your life.
That's right.
So what does your family think about
Oh,
this?
they're very supportive. They give me good ideas. They cheer me on, and that's been very important. And also having a partner in crime, so to speak.
Absolutely.
But having not only doing this. You earlier asked about courage and facing the challenge. Having Greg as a partner in doing this helps out a lot, because I'm maybe low one time and he may be
Right.
optimistic, or vice versa. And so we help each other out, and we test out ideas with one another, and we're willing to be honest with one another about an idea that is interesting but just doesn't quite cut it. So I think having support both within one's family and
Yes.
community of friends, but also having a collaborator in one form or another is a big positive thing.
Yes, yeah. So both internally, within, having a partner to do something with,
Yes.
it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely,
I think
yes.
you don't feel like you're doing it alone.
That's right,
So if
that's
you're
right.
stuck, you can call the other person and
That's
get
right.
ideas from them and
That's
so
right.
forth.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. And we do a lot of our rehearsing for shows over the phone, because Greg lives in New Jersey and I'm
so
up
you
here in
don't even-
Massachusetts.
yeah, you don't
so we're
even-
singing over the
that's
phone.
wild.
And there are times where I would, if for whatever reason I'm down and I just want to pack it in that night, but I know I'm committed to a phone rehearsal with
Right.
Greg, or vice versa, we just persevere and go ahead. So having a partner is real important.
Yeah. And how really, nowadays, you do not have to live next door to your
That's
partner.
right. That's right.
So
Yeah,
true.
That's right.
So do you have a sense at all as to, I heard you say, when I said what's next for you, you said, oh, more of the same,
Yeah.
because there's so much now
Yeah.
available
Right.
with fodder for healthcare and the
Right.
new administration
Right.
and so
Right.
forth. So do you have any inkling about where you're, not necessarily where you're headed next, but what the next step is, or where the
Right,
joy or
right,
the juice
right,
is
yeah.
at the moment?
Well, doing the show, the joy loves, I love the joy in performing it and writing new material. We'd like to perform for larger organizations. We've performed for the American Medical Association twice. We've performed for
great.
national specialty societies. We'd like to do more of that. A number of years ago, we performed for Congress. Someday we'd like to perform at the White House. So that's one of the stars we're hitching our wagon
Wow,
to, so to
that's
speak.
so great.
And we love performing for the general public. We've just done some shows at a cabaret club called Don't Tell Mama, which is the leading cabaret club in New York City. And it's so much fun performing for an audience in a relatively small venue where you can see the faces of the people in the
Yeah.
audience.
Versus a huge audience, yeah.
And performing is an interactive process. Sitting in the audience, you may not always fully appreciate, I know I don't fully appreciate the fact that the audience really creates the performance in many ways.
Yes.
So we'd like to do more of that as well. So that's what's on our agenda, basically. More creative material to write, more performances, larger organizations, and continuing to have fun with it.
That's so great. So fun, following your joy.
Right.
Right. Is there a story that you haven't told us yet about this performance or about this work?
Gosh, there are lots of stories. One of the things we find is that it resonates with all different kinds of groups. And even though we kind of poke fun in some mild-mannered ways, you might say, about what's going on in healthcare, even some of the people who are targets of the satire, the parody, laugh along with us. We did a show for the Massachusetts Hospital Association about 10 years ago, and there was a table in the corner of the room where there was a lot of laughter coming throughout the show. And as performers, you know where the hot spots of laughter are.
Yeah.
And after the performance was over, we went over to the people sitting at the table, and we found that those were some of the executives from one of the leading health insurers in the state. And in fact, some of the people said that the president and CEO was laughing out loud behind his menu because he didn't want people to see him laughing. So I think it's a healthy thing when people laugh at themselves.
Yeah.
We certainly laugh at ourselves. And in the process, people, I think, don't take themselves quite as seriously, and I think they discover, we're all in it together. And
Yeah.
in fact, that's the final message we leave people with in our show, is that in the democratic society that we live in a certain sense, we've all created the situation we're in healthcare with all its deficiencies and challenges. That's the bad side. The good side is that we live in a democratic society, and we can do, in fact, we are doing something to remedy some of the problems. So
Yeah.
that's the message we leave with people, to get involved, to do something about it, and to get engaged in making it for a better healthcare system.
That's great. And so as you're balancing your life and balancing your many job responsibilities, what do you find is the most challenging piece?
Oh gosh, the most challenging case.
Sorry, did I spring this one on
No,
you?
you know, it just sort of keeping to the game plan, so to speak. You know, where things are going well, not getting overconfident. When things are low, not getting too depressed, and just you know, being clear on what I've set out to do, and knowing that I have a lot of people supporting me, and not being, you know, inflexible. I mean, being able to change, but just you know, keeping true to what I set out to do. I think that's the thing that sustains me, and knowing that ultimately it makes a difference. You know, sometimes when we're doing what we love to do, be it in my mainstream work or in the damaged care show I do with Greg, or in interacting with members of my family, sometimes we don't fully appreciate the way we make a difference in other people's lives. And I think just stopping every once in a while and realizing the difference that each of us makes in affecting other people, I think all that, you know, keeps me going.
And in our own brand. So your touch in the world is the things that we've talked about, and many
Yes.
other things we haven't
That's
talked
right.
about.
That's
But
right.
everybody, you know, you're just, we were talking about this earlier before we went on camera, you're just like a regular guy doing work that
Yeah.
he loves,
Right,
that
right.
you feel that you are full of experience at this point in your
Right,
life. You have a
right.
lot of experience, and a lot of our viewers have a lot of experience doing many
Yeah.
things in their lives.
That's right.
And just following something that
That's
gives you
right.
joy.
That's right.
Right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And you don't need to give up everything else in order to nurture that part of you.
To do, yeah.
Yeah.
So you were going to leave us with some great words of wisdom, some final thoughts. So we have a lot of time actually for you to do that.
Yeah,
So
okay.
what are some of the things that you'd like to leave our audience with?
Sure. Well, some of the things I've already talked about. One is to discover your talent. It may be readily apparent to you, and if it's not apparent to you, it may be in your blind spot, and it may be that everybody else in your life, or many of those people, see the talent. So ask your spouse or significant other, ask your, you know, the other people in your family, ask your closest friends.
In case you can't see it.
In case you can't see
Right,
it.
that's
So
good.
discover it. Number two, nurture it. And that degree of nurturing may look, you know, different for different people, different kinds of situations. But probably more important than anything else is to just do it, you know.
Yes.
And don't worry about what other people are saying. Just do it and continue to do it. And you may find that it's growing, it's improving as you're doing more of it. Or you may find that, gee, you know, it isn't as exciting as I thought it was. I'm going to go off in some other direction.
Right, so you might start in one direction and head off slightly
Head off in some
another.
other direction.
Yep.
I mean, if somebody were to tell me 40 years ago that I
Yes.
would be at my age, you know,
Yes.
going around the country performing this show,
You
you
would
know,
have said they were crazy.
I would say they were crazy. So just follow the directions it takes you in. So discover it, nurture it, and then set up a framework of support. That
Yes.
might be your family, it might be your friends. In my life, in virtually everything I do, I have collaborators. I have people I work
Yes.
with, people who nurture me, who interact with me, who give me feedback. So find, you know, it may not be in the same form where Greg and I do this together.
Right.
It may be that you're a stand-up comic, or maybe you're an artist who works alone, let's say. But find people in your life who can interact with you on a regular basis, so you're not out there alone, and you can get the support that you need.
Yeah, so support, family, friends, etc.
Yes.
So you just got a chance to hear Barry talk about his path and his great work with damaged care, and how he didn't really make a change, but more discovered an emerging gift and talent in his life. And now it's your turn. What do you want to do? One suggestion is to spend 10 to 15 minutes a day, just that short amount of time, thinking about what would give you joy. Just exactly what we were talking about. Where do you feel enlivened? Where do you feel juiced and jazzed? And spend more time doing the things that give you joy every day. Follow the joy is our motto. And if you like what you heard today and you want to know more about what's next for you, we have some free resources for you. If you're a woman listening in our audience today and you're not too far from Andover, Massachusetts, you can join us for Girls' Night Out gatherings, where we meet in Andover the first Monday of every month from 7 to 9 p.m. And to find out about that, go to www.themagicparties.com and register on our events page. It's a free evening to help you identify what's blocking you from living your best life. And if you have questions about our show today, or you want to know more about free resources on our website, again, our website, www.themagicparties.com. A big thank you to Barry Levy for being on our show. And
Pleasure
I
being here.
appreciate
Thank you,
your
Wendy.
coming. And to Pete and to Brian for making, and to Kevin, our student intern, for making this all possible. And thanks to you, our listeners. You are meant to go forth in the world to use your gifts and talents, and to have a little fun exploring what's next inside of you, waiting to burst forth, and to wake up for what's next in your life. Join us next time as we continue to help you discover the magic of you.